course, unfortunately, TZ unfortunately dies in the hands of Jacob Zuma. But if they are still alive, they know that. And they hate the ANC even today. But Thami Zulu, we used to refer to the TZ. He died under mysterious circumstances, according to Quatro.
The President of South Africa, Comrade Jacob Zuma, who closely worked with my husband, and I'll tell you something that you didn't know. He was the last person to be with Chris before he was assassinated. I don't know where they had gone to do whatever, but he was the last ANC.
Politically incorrect. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make reference to what people have been pushing me to do. They say, why do all of you do not want to talk about Thami Zulu? Why do you not want to talk about Thami Zulu Mashiane? And why are you avoiding certain things? But I just want to, before I even read the article, there are many articles on this, and there are many other material. So what I'm going to do is, those who do not know who Thami Zulu is, I'm going to attach articles and I'm going to other audio visuals. I'm going to put it here just for you to go and research. But I just want to remind you, remember when I went to Soweto to go and cover Msholozi going to the it was some kind of a summit for traditional healers in Soweto called by the doctor, can I command the doctor? Yes, when we were doing that, he allowed to the stage a woman who was crying out for help. She wanted Zuma to help him because a family member who had been lost in exile had to be rescued, and I'm using the word rescued, and the story had something to do with Jacob Zuma because that child mentioned that he was working with Jacob Zuma, and Msholozi allowed that woman to speak. And when the crowd heckled her, because Zuma said, give her a mic to speak. So when Zuma was in attendance, Zuma gave her the mic to speak. So what I'm going to do, it's one of those that I'm going to attach. So this is the reason I'm not going to be long. So I'm just going to want to read this article that you see here on the screen. I'm going to attempt to read it just so you understand how it is. So here's me going to attempt to read it. So it says, how the killing of Thami Zulu contradicts Zuma's claims. So this article was written by Ken Good in 2013 May. Ken Goods contests the ANC president's rose-tinted view of the liberation movement's records in exile. So this is them contesting this. It's not the only article. There are many other articles. Like I said, I'm going to attach others. So you can just skip through if you don't want to listen through to this article. So this is me going to attempt to read it. The killing of Thami Zulu in Lusaka, 16 November 1986. President Jacob Zuma was quoted in BitLife on 30 April as saying it was often the case that the guards in MK camps would not eat. They would rather feed their prisoners. So let me not attempt to read it, but because you can see it, you can pause and read it for yourself, but I'm just going to try to read it very quickly without explaining what they mean. Nothing could be further from the truth. The records compiled by the TRC and the details presented by the Square Commission showed that food deprivation and extract confessions at Quatro camp was systematic, unconsequenceable, and pernicious. While the diet of detainees was chiefly diluted tomato puree and rice, the camp commanders had a plentiful supply of special food. Any food left over after they had eaten and they are full, they would feed the pigs. So this is quote. This is cited from report 1992, page 10. The detainees, the detainees there in the ANC other camps in Angola throughout the 1980s. It must be noted that usually not the agents of Pretoria, but the rank and file MK soldiers who had the courage and community to call for accountability, democrat. But I think I have to do justice by reading this. The detainees there in the ANC other camps in Angola throughout the 1990s, it must be noted, were usually not agents of Pretoria, but rank and file MK soldiers who had the courage and commitment to call for accountability, democratization, and the active campaign against Pretoria. Zuma similarly claimed that the ANC had the liberation struggle were driven by both values and extraordinary leaders. A number of big events occurred in the 1990s and in the 1980s and early 1990s and then early 1990s. The depredation wrought by Mkondo, the grindstone on MK, Operation Vula, disbandment of the United Democratic Front, which helped they produce the country's democracy of today. The case below highlights the real leadership values of the ANC. The killing of Muziwakhe Ngwenya, aka Thami Zulu, was complex, calculated, callous, and it resulted in the movement of top ANC leaders, Joe Modise, Chris Hani and Jacob Zuma, with Thabo Mbeki in the supportive role. It also closely involved the ongoing struggle between Mbogoto and MK, and the ethnic concerns of Zuma in particular, in which Zulu became unwittingly embroiled. Zulu was born in Soweto, educated there, in Swaziland, and briefly at the University of Botswana, from whence he joined MK. His military potential were reportedly spotted by Joe Slovo and Hani, who invited him to attend a meeting of SACP in East Berlin in 1979. Later, a commander of the Southern Angola, Ronnie Castro's 2004, this is Ronnie Castro's 2004 publication, page 125, described Zulu as an extraordinary handsome individual who looked very inch a soldier. He was then appointed by Modise and Hani as regional commander of MK Operations Natal, based in Swaziland. This appointment, says Ellis, 2012, page 236, was strongly opposed by Zuma, who wanted someone from Natal, not a Sowetan, in this critical position. Zulu successfully stepped up in MK attacks, but so this is where I want to leave it, because if I read the whole article, it would be somewhat strenuous. But maybe to explain, you'll hear what the parents say. The parents say when they last saw him, he complained that things are not well because Zuma was fighting him. In this article, as quoted, this article, if you scroll down on this article, it tells you where they cite the references were made, and this Jeremy Gordon Zuma biography is this one. Where is Zuma's Jeremy Gordon? Is this one? Where is Zuma's biography? It's somewhere here. I don't want this podcast to be long, me searching for the Zuma book, but the biography is there. It's one of those that are cited here. So I don't want to go further. Even Ronnie Castles is quoted here, but these are the sources that this article was sourced from. It is not the only article. There are many other articles that I will attach. But being there as it may, I just wanted to make justice to this story. And I'm not going to attach Thami Zulu only. I'm going to attach others. But in short, I just want to say, this is the story of those comrades who had never gotten an opportunity to speak. like I say, I'm going to attach others, but sit down and enjoy. We're not blaming anyone. I remember when Thabo Mbeki made insinuations about Zuma being a spy. And I came out and said, well, to be honest, just about everyone could have been a spy. If you remember that list that Mandela had, everyone could have been a spy. And it's very difficult that we are forced to have this narrative, but we could not point anyone because we are never going to have evidence. It will be circumstantial, it will be narrative like this. But as journalists who are doing this work, we need to report on it. But as far as I say, does it divide us? Because this is the question that I don't know. But should we not talk about it? No, it will be a form of censorship. Because I invite people to come and sit here and lament their stories. And it would be very difficult for me not to reciprocate their energies because they'd want us to visit this further. But this is the story of Thami Zulu, told by the parents, told by the others. And it may not be nice because it will also involve other people. Much and politically incorrect, let me leave it at that. Just keep enjoying the rest. Each-other.
Muziwakhe Ngwenya, better known as Thami Zulu or TZ, was one of the ANC's 1976 recruits. He rose rapidly through the ranks, and by 1983 he was head of Mkhonto we Sizwe's Natal underground machinery and a senior official of the Communist Party. In 1988, one of his senior comrades confessed to having been a spy. TZ was detained by ANC security, or Mbokolo, of which he was a senior officer. There was no trial. He became very ill in detention, and shortly after his release in November 1989, he died. Despite 4 internal commissions of inquiry appointed by the ANC, no satisfactory explanation for his death has been given. The first inquiry found he was poisoned and that he had TB and AIDS. The ANC this week repeated that the organization was not to blame for his death. Thami Zulu's parents pleaded strongly with the Truth Commission this week.
The submission that I shall make here is not an assault on the ANC as a movement, but something to point out some of the atrocities and the violation of human rights by some of the members of the ANC in exile. In 1989, we heard he was in detention in Lusaka. The South African Council of Churches gave my wife and I 2 air tickets to proceed to Lusaka. In Lusaka, I met Mr. Nzo, then Secretary General of the African National Congress, Mr. Nkobe, Treasurer General, Mr. John Tlantla, Chief of Intelligence, and Mr. Zuma Jacob. We told them we had come to find out why our son was in detention. They told us that our son was not detained. Of course, this was proved afterwards to have been a lie. 6 months later, his wife phoned me to say TZ was now in an ANC cell and in solitary confinement, and that he was being tortured. At my expense, because the SACC could no longer finance me to fly over to Lusaka, I bought my own air ticket. I waited and waited. And altogether, I remained in Lusaka for 18 days. And in the 18 days, I hadn't seen my son. Why was I not allowed by Mr. Zuma to see my son for 18 days? Even under the most cruel regime, apartheid regime, people were allowed visitors. Around December, Reverend Frank Chikane phoned me to say my son had been released by the ANC and was very sick. I should fly over, he said, because my son needed my moral support. It was very strange. Very sick, a bag of bones. Instead of being taken to hospital, he's thrown into the street to look after himself.
We have waited for 7 years since TZ's
7
death.
months.
7 years
Oh, I see.
since TZ's death for official contact from the ANC. Nobody, despite what he did for the organization, came to us to say we're sorry, just to offer their sympathy. No one came. There is some contradiction. The military wing was with him. They supported him right through. Even at the time when his corpses were fetched from Zambia, they were with him. They were working with the family. They had nothing against him. And the people who were not working with him, that is the security, is the group that had something to do with him. There's that contradiction, which shows that there was a little clique. One of the papers quoted that there was a struggle of power. And of course we know, my son said it when we had gone to see him the last time in Zambia. He said it, that there was bad blood between him and Jacob Zuma.
I challenge whoever says TZ was a police agent. The ANC is a free movement now. They should institute a commission of inquiry headed by a judicial officer where we are all represented. I challenge them to prove that he ever was, or my family ever had any connection with the special branch. I challenge them. I challenge them. I challenge them.
Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon, colleagues. Yesterday, I promised to do some research on Thami Zulu. Thami Zulu's real name was Muziwakhe Ngwenya. He was Thami Zulu in exile for purposes of dribbling the apartheid officials who were after activists during apartheid. So he named himself Thami Zulu. Otherwise, his real name is Muziwakhe Ngwenya. When I read his story, I'm going to summarize this so that this is not long. When I read his story today, I gave myself about an hour reading about his story. Thami Zulu was tortured by his own comrades. And he ended up dying of a poison. He was poisoned. And there was a group called Mbokodo. There was a group called Mbokodo, and that group was directly managed by Zuma. So, Thami Zulu, who is Muziwakhe Ngwenya, was hated the most or the worst by Zuma. And the reason that this Thami Zulu was hated, one, it was because he actually loved the guys who were coming from the closer side of the tribe. Those guys were Hani, Sisulu, is it Susulu? Govan Mbeki, and else. You know, I was just reading not to put it in my mind. So Zuma didn't like those guys because the Mbokodo was more of a Zulu thing. It was taking care of Zulus. He was, Mbokodo. Zuma was making sure that this Mbokodo was formed to favor more of the tribal Zulu side. And this Thami Zulu liked these Xhosa guys, as I mentioned. He was then tortured. You will remember a story that I said Thami Zulu won a position. He was going to be the commander in KZN, of which Jacob Zuma was not happy about that. He went on a rant where he said this guy was not born in KZN, he was born in Soweto, and so on and so on. Because Zuma has been a tribalist for years, it's not new that Zuma will play the card of tribalism. It's not now that we've noticed it. He has been a tribalist. So, in this other year, when the prisoners, apartheid prisoners, in the name of the Sisulus and others, were released by Boas, I will give it a date here. It started in October. Is it 1989 or 85? Somewhere there. When the Boers were releasing these people, then Zuma knew if these guys were released and found Thami in that isolation cell, they were going to talk and Zuma would be in trouble. And this guy would report because he was so close to the Hanis of this world. Chris Hani, the Mbegis, the Modises and others. Then immediately the news spread that those apartheid prisoners were being released. Zuma released Thami 3 or 5 days before the release of others, in order for those guys to not find Thami in that confinement. Because Thami was going to talk and tell them everything that he faced. And at that time, there was a talk of Thami not feeling well. And he was then, according to Uhani, wanted Thami to be sent to a hospital. But Thami said, no, if you send me to hospital, Zuma and his crew is going to finish me in hospital. Then Hani asked why, what happened? Then the guy told a short story that he has been tortured by Zuma and his crew. And when this guy was also taken out of this confinement, after there was news that apartheid prisoners were released, he got poisoned. And the question has been, why did they poison him at that time while they had all the time to could poison him? But the answers were of a timing where they were planning this thing that so that it would not be seen as it's their own doing. They were doing this in discreet and fooling these guys to look at Thami as if it was just a normal death. But the post-mortem after his death showed that there was poison. So in other words, Thami Zulu was killed by Zuma and the crew under Mbokodo. I'm still following what this Mbokodo was, but with the little I got about this Mbokodo name was that it was focusing more of KZN people. It was focusing on KZN people. And Zuma never, liked the Xhosa crew in that exile. And at that time, Zuma was counterintelligence. We always say Zuma was in the intelligence. It was counterintelligence. I don't know what it means. He was counterintelligence. Modise, I think Joe Modise, was likely to be with Zuma's side. It's just that I didn't read that story thoroughly. Was more of with Zuma. So, Thami Zulu, who his name is Muziwakhe Ngwenya, was killed by Zuma and the crew through poison For that, Zuma never liked Thami because Thami won a position of a commander, which Zuma disputed it, and Thami ended up not taking that commander in the KZN.
Popular guy here. Remember, people were returning. So people were asking me, when is Chief coming? When is he coming? And it was becoming very difficult for me. I said, I don't know. Where is he? I don't know. When last did you hear of him? Never heard of him. Oh, you must be joking. Other people have visited their people. I said, not us. And I never heard anything about him until 1992, when two young fellows came and said, well, we are from Exile, Brother Joe. We've been in MK. I said, oh, so you're back. Oh, glorious, you're wonderful. And where's Timothy? We call him Chief. Where's Chief? And he said, no, Brother Joe, he won't be coming back. And in a way, I felt proud. He died in combat. That's wonderful. He gave the supreme sacrifice for us. But what devastated me, they said, no, he didn't die in combat. He was killed. They tortured, maimed him, and just rubbed him off. And I got the story.
The bread which we break, is it not the sharing of the body of Christ?
He was tortured like I was. And when I got into that cell, I couldn't tell who he was until he spoke. He was tortured and forced to agree that he has sold the movement's guns to the Angolans with me, which thing was not true.
I thought what the regime did to me was bad. No, that's nothing compared to what he went through. When the system arrested me and tortured me, when they finished with me, they put me at the doorstep and said, take your rubbish, we're through with it. But my movement grabs my younger brothers and sisters, and for whatever reason, they get killed there. They kill them. But don't have the decency of coming and say, we've dealt with your rubbish. It's no longer there. It takes me 12 years to know that he's no more. When I'm waiting for him, I write poems. Come back. We are fattening the calf for you. There will be celebration when we come. The guy's long dead. And I rub shoulders with them. Comrades who know. And they call me Comrade Joe. But they don't say, we killed him.
I think we were 8 or 9. We were handcuffed the following morning, forced to lie on our stomach in the Land Rover, and we could see now we're going to a place where if they give you bread, you'll think it's a cake. That's Quatro. Quatro is a number in Portuguese. We called it Quatro because we used to believe in our country at a place like number 4. I think this is the place. What was more surprising is that the uniform they gave was so dirty. And then they told us that this is a hell of a place. You could feel they just pointed to us, that's your cell. You don't look anywhere, you just go straight into that cell. If we are 5 in this cell or 10, if we have to stay for 10 years or 5 years or 6 years, you'll see the face that you are with within that cell for that 6 years. Beatings in Quatro was an everyday thing. I remember one warder by the name of Sonwabo. we went to chop the wood. So I happened to look around for a stick because we were using a hacksaw. And it was very early in the morning, around about 8 o'clock. Just for looking aside, he beat me from 8 o'clock until 12 o'clock. I don't have any problem with the membership of the organization as such. I don't have any problem with my colleagues, but I have a problem with the leadership of the ANC. No one came to me, even after killing my father. No one came to me.
Whilst Diliza's father was assassinated by the ANC in the 80s after being suspected as a spy, Mr. Joe Seramane's younger brother, Chief, left the country to join the movement, but when everybody was returning back home, he never came back.
I come here on behalf of my family. I come here to express a feeling of betrayal by compatriots and comrades. I come here to express our disappointment and the way we feel cheated of a dear little brother, a promising young man, a brilliant young man. I come here to talk about the hypocrisy that's taking place in our country. I want to ask for the true records of those trials in Quatro camp. I want somebody to come and tell me what my younger brother actually did that he deserved to be shot like an animal being put down after being brutally disfigured so that his best friends could not recognize him. I want that comrade of mine to come up and be honest and say, and tell a little lie at least to the family, a little white lie, and say, we shot him accidentally when we were practicing. We will be satisfied. Why do you cheat me of my brother's bones? Why do you think our contribution is worth nothing? Why do you think we ran and volunteered to risk our lives calling for your own return home, for justice, supporting you in your call to be treated under the Geneva Conventions, and you couldn't treat your own that way?
So tema yelo bebitethethe engakusolo solo nahlanga babethi lo betshala amabhuku yomkhona lanayo yensiyakaziyo and after lo gabathi balala kubhulitsonsolo amabhuku lapha elethu athi I just about the time we see the underground future it okay after lo ulinda lasekhaya amabhuku lo kubhulitsonsolo wayokungubhutwa nayishawela lamabuza ati ubhutwa umtraining from the exile Tanzania ubhutwa ngabona lamabhunu ebebini bebetha itrain kazi kuna nabhuna i12 amabhuna umntana wa9 years layikhanda walapho amabuza after lo ubhutwa wazishane ngetrainator wazibona lapho uthila khona ukuthi afike i-secret ye-ANC yes after lo amathambo kabhutwa isidumbu zami sasithola abazana bebisaphila after lokho babamba kakhulu ngababona baba phezulu sifuna ukuthi
Ngijabulela nje ukuthi simazi ngoba lokho sikwenzela ukuthi uma sithole inkululeko manje wonke amaqhawe ethu wakhumbula ngoba amaningi akhunjulu. Yingakho ngathi uma ngimemezela ukuthi ngeke ngobhodela unkulu ukuza no-ANC kodwa ngathi ngeke nguyele ngoba kunalezi inkinga esizaziyo okufanele sizilungise uma sisiphethe thina ukuze abantu abafelwa amaqhawe bangakhali baze bangene endodini sikwazi ukubaduduza. Bengithi nje ngenzele lokho kwethu ngiyaxolisa ukuthi nginikisa isikhathi senzonikeza umnikazi wentaba. Siyabonga.
Before Baba Umamo. Oh, Umamo. Oh, so there. Okay. Okara siyabonga Rasta. Umsebenzi wakhe yabonakala, izinto zakho ziyazwakala. Niyamazi uRasta bethu. Umgwegwe nama-veterans siyabonga kakhulu. Umama isimemezelo esikhona. Hey, yayisaba le abantu abamnyama ngoba mangikhuluma la lutho ubani behind. Umama sicela ukunikelela ngo-100,000 ehola. Umama eluna shukuthi kuya. Ubashilo sethi abanye imali bana ake ngithi nje abelaphi. Okasiza ukuthi senze egameni labelaphi. Abelaphi ndawo banikela ku-home yakhe ngo-100,000. Mama disipso. Ora sasa. Kuthi mama manje ngingaretire kunamali azoyithola nasemhlabeni. Okay. Lalelani ke makhomre.